Majora's Mask is one of my favorite games ever. It has been for almost as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a young child, I've found myself periodically wrapped up in thoughts of the game. I'd spend hours poring over every inch of it, and when I couldn't do that, I'd dream of it. As a kid, it seemed to have such a singular aesthetic and tonal identity, was so unlike anything else that I couldn't help but be completely taken. The only problem is that I hadn't played it. Eventually I did, sure, but that was sometime deep into high school, and I never got too far. Certainly nowhere close to the end. But when my love for it was at its peak, I hadn't even seen the game. Not really, you know? Because my experience of Majora's Mask, what I identify and know it as, is a guidebook. I vividly remember seeing the book sitting on the shelf of, I think, a grocery store, surrounded by magazines and cheap paperbacks about who cares what. And I especially remember the eyes of the mask on the cover, the comparative darkness of the book to everything around it. It was almost like all the surrounding light was being sucked into it. So of course, I had to have it, despite not owning the game or even an N64. At that time, all I really knew about Zelda was the Game Boy games. But hey, I got it, and it remains, almost without question, the book I've read the most in my life. In hindsight, now I can see that my love of the guidebook was an early equivalent of watching a Let's Play or a stream, only abstracted a step further. Whereas in the contemporary form, you largely see the game as it was designed, but with your agency stripped and replaced with a personality over it, reading a guidebook is to rob a video game of movement and sound and mechanics. Suddenly, the game is barely recognizable as one at all, because it no longer is. Its form and content have drastically shifted into something else. It has become pictures, still moments, which was fine. For young me, it didn't matter how the game moved or how it sounded or controlled, because before I knew it, I had stopped thinking of Majora's Mask as a game. Even in my mind, it had become that book. And that made the experience and story I went through one that was fundamentally different from the game. Just like in a stream, there is a second-party personality that is an unavoidable aspect of a guidebook. In the same way that when reading a translated novel, you are reading a product of the translator themselves, my Majora's Mask is every inch the creation of the writer of that guide. My conception of the game is inextricably linked and filtered through the ideas of a person whose name I don't even know. For example, this author wrote in second person. It is a guide, after all, and with a light humor, little puns or snarky comments drizzled throughout. Many of these were told through titles, every paragraph and action compartmentalized and given a clear name and sense of place. This created a tone that was very comforting and empowering to me as a child. Despite the weird horror and unease of the cover, the situations and images inside, here was a kind voice preparing me for the future, guiding me to certain success. That said, though it is organized, there is a clear non-linearity to the guide. Pages are made with splatters of small paragraphs describing characters and locations and side quests, and though everything has a name and title, to look at a page fully is to find no clear narrative, but rather a contained world, a community, miniature vignettes that could often be played out in different orders. On top of that, artwork and character models are everywhere, intermingling among the text. This highlights the tone of the book, yes, the strange, almost abstract character models and the distinct, stylized art with its harsh shadows creating an atmosphere of a distorted world, one like a dream where memories of your life are twisted into new, unknown shapes that carry a sense of the unknowable. But this also aids that non-linearity. I couldn't help but notice the mass of characters on every page existing with the borderless text surrounded by the whiteness of the page. They wander the same space. There's this feeling that every page and every area is a single moment, that it is all connected somehow, all the same. And of course, what this does is replicate Clocktown, the hub of the game with its cast living out their own lives. It feels, especially at the beginning, alive and human, a sort of transcendentalist celebration of the wonder of individuality and the interconnectedness of us all. But when I think of this, the town in the book, I don't move in that direction. Instead, I think of memories. They function similarly to Majora's Mask, I think, and to flipping through a guidebook as a kid. The perceived straight line of time breaks down when we think of the past, various remembrances intermingling, becoming confused, moving around together, forming hidden connections that shouldn't be there. Which is to say that you can rarely choose where or when they will come. Rather, they are like me as a child, flipping open a guidebook to a random page and soaking in the information and tones that I find. If the popular metaphor is to be believed and time is a river, then the memories left behind are a lake, a single falling leaf sending ripples throughout the entire body. Like eating a Madeleine and suddenly being overwhelmed with remembrance of an entire lifetime, we cannot control the past. Which is what I think is so interesting about the game. As Link, you go about trying to do just that, trying to help people who are in trouble, who are making the wrong choice, experiencing heartbreak or loss. But even if you succeed, time resets. It all returns to the same point. The problems all remain unresolved. Just like how memories so often work. For me, when a moment of the past wells up uninvited, I sometimes try to change them, like Link tries to change the outcome of the townspeople. I will rewrite and play memories out in different ways, imagining them ending positively, in a way I wanted them to. I imagine a past saved from pain. But that is not the reality. Those fantasies never happened. At least, not in the ones I remember. No, the ones I remember are the same ones that consumed the people of Clocktown. The pain, the sadness, the regret. I wonder why it is that we always remember what we want to forget. Why we spend so much time pining for a life we failed at making. When years later I finally got an N64 and a copy of Majora's Mask, my biggest reaction was that of a strange disappointment, a lack of desire to keep playing. The game was great. The atmosphere was even stronger than the book, the world and characters more interesting. The music was incredible, and I enjoyed how it played. It was Zelda, after all. In the end, it was everything I had imagined it would be. So, of course I was let down. It turns out Majora's Mask had become something I was not meant to play. Like a past that was never meant to be fixed, or an idle daydream impossibly realized, there was no way it would have satisfied me, no way for it to live up to that book. The imagination in mind is too fanciful, too powerful, and often too simple for reality to ever satisfy it. My memories had betrayed me, just like they always do. This is the darkness that dwells in Majora's Mask. It houses a world that is ending, full of people with failing lives, rain and monsters, a disgusted moon. Over and over you try to fix it, and over it is all made meaningless. But it is equally important that in the end you win, that you do help those in need, save the world from destruction, stop memories from controlling you. It turns out the Skull Kid is just that, a posturing child in need, consumed by their past like everyone else. And after all is said and done, Link leaves Termina, and returns to his own world. He continues on with his life. He continues to grow. Was this place real or some sort of fabrication? It doesn't matter, because once he is gone and once we are finished playing, all it is a memory, just like every experience we have, every moment we live. Another block that builds up who we are. And that is what makes the game so essential, so defining to me. It is about the bitter struggle between us and our memories. It feeds us the ultimate fantasy of control, of being able to go back and try again and again until we succeed in removing our hurt. But it also recognizes that this action is not necessarily negative, that the same fanciful imagination that can trap our future can also save us. There is power in imagining a better past, because no matter what, time will eventually continue. Link will win, and he will leave Termina behind, and all those played out memories that keep you up at night, and the ones that you keep trying to fix, and the townspeople whose lives work out or don't work out at all, are all essential in making the present you. They are all another page of a book, just like the one I read as a child. Still, even if I believe what I said, I wish I could go back. I want to return to my old home and walk into my closet stacked with guides and novels, Majora's Mask waiting somewhere in the shelves. There are so many books I'd like to open again. Thank you for watching.